Every single time you buy something, whether it's a coffee or a car, you're essentially entering into a contract. And that contract is packed with promises. Some are spelled out, but a lot of them are just implied. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the legal engine running behind all those promises. Trust me, knowing this stuff is your best defense when a purchase goes south.
So think about it for a second. Have you ever bought something that just wasn't right? Maybe a phone that wouldn't charge or a jacket that was supposed to be waterproof and, well, wasn't. What you can actually do about it, whether you can demand a full refund or just get a bit of money back, all comes down to one crucial difference between two legal terms. So let's get into it. Here's the game plan. We're going to start with the big one, the core difference between conditions and warranties. Then we'll look at how things can get a little murky. After that, we'll spend a good chunk of time on the unspoken rules, the promises the law automatically adds to your contract for you. And finally, we'll take a look at the huge shift in the law from let the buyer beware to something totally different.
All right, first things first. This is the absolute foundation of everything we're talking about today. Basically, any promise in a sales contract is either a condition or a warranty, and which one it is completely changes your rights as a buyer. Okay, so a condition. Think of a condition as the absolute deal breaker. It's a promise that is so central, so vital to the whole point of the contract that if it gets broken, the entire deal is basically worthless. And because of that, you, the buyer, get the ultimate power, the right to just walk away, end the contract, and get your money back.
A warranty, on the other hand, is, well, it's a lesser promise. It's important, but it's more of a side guarantee, not the main event. So if a warranty is broken, the main thing you bought is probably still okay. That means you can't cancel the whole deal, but you can sue for damages to make up for whatever loss you suffered.
This table really lays it all out perfectly. Look at that first row. A condition is essential. A warranty is just collateral. That directly leads to the second row. If the essential part is broken, you can end the contract. If the side promise is broken, you can only get damages. And here's the really crucial part in that last row. You can always choose to treat a big problem, a breach of condition, as a small one and just take the damages. But you can never treat a small problem like a deal breaker. The power only flows one way.
So we just said you have this powerful right to end the contract if a condition is broken. But what if you don't use it? Or what if your own actions make you lose that right? This is where things get interesting, and the law says, nope, you've got to treat this like it was just a warranty.
So this can happen in a few ways. First, you can just voluntarily give up your right. You find a big flaw, but you decide, you know what, I'll keep it, just give me a discount. That's you choosing to treat it as a breach of warranty. Second is acceptance. The moment you accept the goods, maybe by telling the seller or by acting like you own them, like using them for a week, you lose the right to reject them. And finally, if you buy something in bulk and you accept part of the order, you often lose the right to reject the rest. You can only claim damages for the faulty bit. Okay, now we're getting to my favorite part. See, not every promise in a contract is written down or even spoken out loud. The law actually inserts certain fundamental promises into almost every sale, just to make sure things are fair. These are called implied conditions. And this is a great little map of what we're about to cover. You can see there are a bunch of implied conditions and a few implied warranties. We're going to walk through the most important ones, and we'll use some real-life court cases to see exactly how they work. So let's start with the absolute, most basic promise of them all, the implied condition as to title. It's super simple. It just means the person selling the thing has the legal right to sell it. Seems obvious, right? If you sell a car, it better be your car. This is the bedrock of any legitimate sale. This old case is the perfect story to explain it. A guy buys a car, he uses it for 4 whole months. Then the police show up and take it away. Turns out it was stolen. The buyer sued the seller for a full refund, and the court said, absolutely. Even though he used it for months, the seller had broken the most fundamental condition of all, the right to sell. The whole contract was basically a sham from the start.
Next up, sale by description. And man, this is a big one today, with pretty much everyone shopping online. The rule is dead simple. If you're buying something based on a description, the thing you get in the mail has to match that description. If it says 100% cashmere, it can't be a wool blend.
And here's another great case. A farmer buys a reaping machine without ever seeing it in person. He bought it based on the seller's description that it was nearly new. Well, when the machine shows up, it's old, it's been fixed up, it's definitely not nearly new.
The court said he had every right to send it back. The goods didn't match the description. Simple as that. This one is huge. Now, generally, there's no automatic promise that something will be perfect for your specific purpose. But, and this is a big but, if you tell the seller exactly what you need it for, and it's clear you're relying on their expertise, then the law implies a condition that the goods will be reasonably fit for that exact purpose. The classic example is the case of the hot water bottle. A man goes into a shop and buys one. He doesn't have to say, I intend to fill this with hot water. I mean, what else would you do with it? It's kind of the whole point. He takes it home, his wife uses it, and it bursts, injuring her. The court said clearly this bottle was not fit for its one obvious purpose. The seller was liable. So what does merchantability mean? It's about being of a commercially sellable quality. Basically, would a normal person knowing everything about it still buy it for that price? It has to be fit for the purpose it's generally used for. You know, a watch that doesn't tell time is not of merchantable quality. And if you think the hot water bottle story was something, listen to this. A woman buys a bag of coal for her fireplace, but mixed in with the coal is a piece of explosive. She puts it in the fire and boom, it explodes. Now, the seller tried to argue that the rest of the coal was fine, but the court was like, are you kidding me? That one dangerous piece made the entire shipment unmerchantable. You can't sell coal that might blow up someone's living room. Okay, so we've covered the major, deal-breaking implied conditions. Now let's quickly touch on the smaller, but still very important implied warranties. Just remember, if one of these is broken, you can't cancel the deal, but you can definitely claim some money back. There are three main ones. First, quiet possession. This just means after you buy something, the seller can't come knocking on your door a month later to take it back. Second, freedom from encumbrance. This guarantees the item is free from any hidden third-party claims. So if you buy a car, there isn't an outstanding loan on it that you don't know about. And third, a duty to warn. If what you're buying is dangerous, the seller has to tell you about it. Now that we understand all these protections that are in place for the buyer, it's pretty wild to look back at where the law actually came from. Because for hundreds of years, the guiding idea was the total opposite of what we've been talking about. And that idea had a name, caveat emptor. It's Latin, and it means let the buyer beware. The thinking was that the seller's only job was to offer the goods for sale. It was up to you, the buyer, to do your homework, to inspect things, and to make sure you weren't getting a bad deal. If you made a mistake, well, too bad. That was on you. But as you can imagine, that led to a lot of unfairness, especially as products got more complicated. So the courts started to carve out exceptions to the rule. And what do you think those exceptions were? Well, take a look. They're the exact same implied conditions we just spent all this time learning about. Fitness for purpose, sale by description, merchantable quality. All of these were created specifically to chip away at that harsh buyer beware rule.
And all those exceptions didn't just chip away at the old rule, they piled up so high that they eventually just buried it. What happened was a complete reversal, a massive philosophical shift in how the law looks at buying and selling.
So we went from caveat emptor to what is essentially caveat venditor, let the seller beware. The law today recognizes that most of the time, the seller is the expert. They have more information, more power, and so they should have more responsibility to make sure the goods are what they claim to be. And that really brings us to the big question for our modern world. When you're buying a piece of high-tech gear with parts from a dozen different countries, who's really in the best position to know if it's any good? As our world gets more connected and our products get more complex, the ideas we've talked about today, about who carries the risk, are more important than they've ever been. It's definitely something to think about.